Fold.
I had you. I should have re-raised you before the flop. You got it.
Technically, you still had him.
She didn't have your favorite hand.
I had kings.
That's right, Donnie. He had kings. How do you feel about yourself now?
So Donnie's move paid off. Find out why as we go behind the poker face.
Up until this point in the game, I had been down probably about 50,000, and I opened under the gun with Jack 10 of clubs to 1,500, and Prahlad re-raised me. And he doesn't really need a strong hand necessarily to re-raise me here. You know, he definitely can have aces or kings or queens, you know, a very strong hand, but he can also be semi-bluffed. And Daniel flat calls. And again, Daniel doesn't necessarily need a super strong hand to flat call there in position. He can have a pretty wide range of hands too. And it comes back to me, and I make a pretty easy call. And the flop comes 6-8-9 with 2 clubs, which is about as good as it gets for me without actually hitting a made hand. And I decide to check. Now, I could decide to bet out on this flop, but the problem is I might just get called in both spots. And then I'm sort of stuck in a spot where I only have jack high, and if I don't hit my hand, I can't win the pot. So I want to sort of set myself up so I give myself a chance to actually win the pot right there on the flop instead of having to see the turn on the river. So I check, and Prahlad bets 7,000, and Daniel calls, and I raise to 32,000. Now at this point, for either of them to continue, they need a pretty strong hand because my range of hands that I can be raising on this flop is at the very least 2 pair or monster draws. And if I have a monster draw, and even if they have something like an overpair like queens or kings, it's only a coin flip for them, which is the best case scenario. But if I have something like pocket 6s or pocket 8s or pocket 9s, something like pocket queens or pocket kings is doing really bad against my hand. So I'm basically representing a very strong hand, but at the same time, I have the ability to actually catch up and win if they decide not to believe me. And with my hand, which is only jack high at this point, but still has a very strong drawing potential, it's best to turn it into a semi-bluff. And that's what I did, and they ended up both folding. Obviously, better hands than I have.
When we return, we'll get both sides of the story in this never-before-seen Behind the Poker Face.
I feel like I could get, a decent amount of money in if I 4-bet.
I kind of felt like he thought I was weak. I almost just shipped it all in right there.
There's one more memorable hand when we return on the Best of the Big Game. Welcome back to the Best of the Big Game, our Behind the Poker Face special. Our final hand tonight features one of the hottest players on the circuit, Jason Mercier, in a monster pot against Malibu Poker Pro and part-time rapper Prahlad Friedman.
We pick up the call of hand 128 as the laughter dies down and the action is folded around to Jason Mercier. Enjoy.
That's funny. Oh gosh, now I hope he has ace-jack. I'm going to eat my words, right?
Mercier raises to 3,000 with big slick. Stern folds. Friedman, pocket jacks.
Typically, a player wouldn't raise jacks from early position, but in this case, Jason's in the small blind and acts in front of him after the flop. Also, with a player like Jason, there's always the chance he's got air.
Prahlad with a re-raise to 10,000.
They all thought you had it.
Did you go over there and ask?
Every one of them said you had it. No, nobody here thought he was bluffing you. But...
You folded, so you obviously agreed.
No, I didn't really agree. I thought I had it. I just didn't want to be wrong again.
Jason definitely won't fold here. He'll either 4-bet or just call. Prahlad's been playing pretty straightforward, but Jason hasn't been here all week, so he might not know that.
Mercier does 4-bet, raising it to 26-7.
It's a pretty small raise, but it's normal for a 4-bet. 4-bets are usually a bit smaller because since it's such a strong move in and of itself, it's not always necessary to risk as much. Unless Prahlad thinks he has some kind of sick read, I don't see him folding. Jason's got too big of a reputation for being loose.
Call. What's that? 25.
So Friedman calls.
Well, after 4 bets, we're going to see a flop, and we've got over 50 grand already in the pot.
The flop, tray 6 deuce.
This is about as good a flop as you could ask for with 2 jacks. Prahlad still has to worry about Jason having an overpair. Good flop for Jacks, but if Jason fires big here, Prahlad won't have an easy decision. If Jason wants to continue to rep a big hand, he's going to have to fire.
And he leads out, betting $24,500.
This bet is actually smaller than Jason's last pre-flop bet. Although with a player like Jason, he could play aces or kings the exact same way. This is what makes poker such a great game. Prahlad's got a very strong hand. It's a good board for them. But because of Jason's aggression, he's still got a decision to make. He could easily let this go, or we could see him ship it all in.
Prahlad's all in.
Now, at first, I really wanted you to shove. That made me feel like you had a really hard decision. And you were almost reluctant.
Jason's getting 3-1, the right odds if aces and kings are still live.
Why don't you just jam free? I call.
Mercier calls, and he's actually the one all in.
Do you want to run it twice? Sure.
I think this is going to be a split pot, is my guess. Sorry. Just, you know.
It's all right.
It would be that bad. As long as you don't lose twice.
So they'll run it twice, seeing the turn and river cards 2 times, playing for half the pot each time. The turn, the 5 of spades.
He might get 3/4 or something like that.
The first river card, the 9 of spades, so Friedman takes half the pot.
Prahlad's free rolling now. If he can dodge an ace, a king, or running hearts, he'll felt Jason.
Kind of wish we could have ran 2 whole boards.
The second turn is the 3 of spades.
Jason's down to his last card.
Yeah.
The second river. It's an ace.
I knew it was going to be a chop. Sick. Prahlad was so close to scooping a biggie.
I was going to ask for 3 times, but then I thought, nah, I'm not going to miss. I'm not going to miss. What in the hell is going on this table?
So a chop pot ends in laughter. But what were the winners thinking? Let's find out in this never-before-seen Behind the Poker Face.
This hand was a interesting hand. Everyone folds. It gets around to Jason.
And I pick up ace-king suited. So I decide to open. I open to 3K.
And I look down 2 jacks. I decide to re-raise. I make it 10K.
At this point, you know, I feel like he could have a pretty wide range. And I think that my hand is the best hand at this point. I feel like I could get, you know, a decent amount of money in if I 4-bet. So I make it 26.7K.
I kind of felt like he thought I was weak when he 4-bet me, so I almost just shipped it all in right there. I was pretty sure my hand was good, but I decided that he might have ace-king. And when someone has ace-king, in order to gain maybe some equity, you can sometimes see a flop, and if no ace or king comes, then you get it all in. And that's what I decided to do.
At this point, you know, I figured he could have a wide range of hands from jacks to 8s or 7-5 suited, hands like that. When the flop comes out, 2-3-6 rainbow, I really didn't feel like he would have a big pair. I really felt like it was leaning more towards a hand that he's like 3-bet and then just decided to take a flop and hope to take it away.
So now he makes a funky type bet. He bets like 24K. Like he had just re-raised pre-flop to almost 27K, and now he bets less than that on the flop. So now I'm just thinking, does he have queens, kings, or aces? And so I thought about it for a long time.
And then he reluctantly shoved, which almost made me decide to fold, because when he does that, you can really tell that he has a decision instead of just like that he had this plan. But there was a lot in the pot at that point, and I was getting a decent price to call.
He decided to call me with ace-king of hearts, which essentially gives him 7 outs. We decided to run it twice. So the first board comes out, blank, blank, and then the next board pairs, and then it comes ace, and I kind of like jumped out of my seat a little bit. I was looking forward to winning that pot.
I think I'm fine with the way I played it. With the flop coming the way that it did, and you know, just how the action went and how much money I had already invested, I felt like I had to call after the flop.
It's just another interesting hand in No Limit Hold'em.
So that's all for our Behind the Poker Face special. Joe.
snap out of it. Stop roaming inside of Prahlad's head.
Sorry, it's just the chillest place I've ever been. It's like a crunchy vegan rap video.
Speaking of rap, it's time to go. But remember, if you want to be a loose cannon, all you have to do is log on to PokerStars.net. There are free qualifying tournaments every day. For Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. We'll see you next time.
Step one of the right way to play it is to not say out loud, man, I have no idea how to play it.
No, that was part of the whole plan.
Trust me.
Should I put it in the death chamber?
I wonder if you got Seaver eyes.
Well, that would be sick, huh? I was going to call for sure right away.
Until you went through the analysis and
then
you
I'm
fell
like,
into my brain?
I fell into Phil Locke's brain.
The preceding program was sponsored by PokerStars.net.